Hey guys, it's Alex C with TFB TV. In today's video, I'm going to share a few tips about gun collecting. Know that the following are just a few things that I've learned over the years that have helped me quite a lot. Some folks may have some different experiences than I, but that's cool and I'd like to hear what's worked for you. These are all things I've learned through trial and error, but for the most part, I've learned that if you buy right, it's hard to lose money on a firearm. Anyways, the following are 5 tips that I believe are very conducive to starting or enhancing your existing collection. Number 1. Surplus is a win. There was a time when Enfields were $10 and M1941 Johnsons were cheaper than Garands. Basically, Enfields were so cheap that nobody thought anything of them and they were sporterized, shot to death, or even neglected. Today, a nice example can bring $500 and up. While surplus rifles are harder to come by these days, in the future your nice Mosin Nagant may appreciate greater than you think. This is of course speculation, but you never know. Also, if you're interested in acquiring surplus rifles cheaply and easily, I would suggest getting a C&R FFL. Ammunition is also a win. I have a ton of 7.6 that I'm sitting on, and I would recommend that you buy a few cans of 7.62x54R. It may be a matter of time before it falls the way of 7.6, because basically if some yokel makes a pistol that can fire it, the feds can stifle its importation. Drawing from personal experience, I once was sitting on a wooden crate of pre-banned Chinese 7.62x39 that I was able to sell for over $1 a round, and the case went for over $1,000. Before the ban, nobody would have thought this was possible, and you never know what that spam can of Nagant food might be worth if you stash it away today. Number 2. If it isn't made or imported anymore, it's good. With obvious exceptions, if a firearm is not made or imported anymore, that is good for collecting. The above surplus factor comes into play here too. I once asked a gunsmith what it would cost for a major manufacturer to reproduce K31s, and he said well over $1,500. And now we can scoop up examples for a little over $300. Other examples of Pre89 band rifles include Daewoo's, Chinese AKs, HK Legacy guns, Valmets, and other rarities like the FNF&C or SIG AMT. It's noteworthy that while expensive, these have shot up in value. While the financial barrier of entry to these firearms is higher than surplus, they are great shooters and will increase the value as the number of rifles in circulation dwindles. In my opinion, if you're looking for a quality Pre89 gun that is still reasonably affordable and downright awesome, check out the Daewoo's. The K1s and K2s are great, but they float around $1,500. You can find the 200s for a lot cheaper. And if you decide you don't like it, you can always get your money back. Number 3. If it doesn't appreciate, it's not an expense. Okay, so this is accounting 101 here, but the above statement holds true with firearms. If you buy right and hunt for deals, you can always get your money back, as firearms are very liquid assets. Like the above mentioned $1,500 Daewoo, it will still be worth $1,500 the day after you buy it. Your wife or girlfriend's equally priced handbag will be worth pennies after she walks out of the store with it. But I've tried to drive this point home with several girlfriends and they don't seem to get it or side with me. That said, you can absolutely buy wrong, which leads me to number 4. Do not make emotionally driven purchases, and take your time. I've worked at car dealerships before, and it's astonishing how often people overpay for something because they just have to have it right that second. That brand new F-150 with nice wheels and tires can capture a potential buyer's emotions, and they will find themselves in the F&I office anxious to drive it off the lot. The same goes for firearms. A man walks into a gun shop on payday and sees a very fancy AR-15 with all the Mall Ninja accessories possible and decides he needs it right now. With no regard to the markup on the Chinese parts or crummy optic, he will gladly fill out a 4473 and swipe that credit card. This is just about the biggest mistake you can make. When I want a new firearm, I decide what I want and write it down on a list. If a week goes by and I still want it, I keep it on the list, learn what fair prices are, and look around. While my to-buy list is long, it stays on my computer and I have perpetually been looking for some firearms for years now. Patience will save you money and help you get a really good example of what you want. Number 5. Realize what is not collectible. This is a tough one because there's a lot of pure speculation involved, but basically, many AR-15s and AK are probably not collectible. True, some variants like a Colt SP1 or even a nice 6920 are pretty safe bets, and guns like Russian Arsenal AKs and Polytech Legends are home runs, but a $500 entry-level AR is a riskier buy. Yes, during ban scares you can make a healthy profit if you intend to unload the gun legally, But as a result of these scares, people are now stocked up as hell. I know people sitting on boxes of 100 lowers, dozens of completed guns, and enough parts to build AKs until eternity. Market saturation has definitely taken its toll here. Another thing to consider is that recent ban legislation has shystily included language banning the sale or transfer of what could be considered assault weapons incorrectly within the context of the bills. This means that if you buy a nice BCM rifle and the ban passes, you wouldn't be able to legally sell it, which is absolutely ludicrous. There was also language regarding what your heirs could and could not receive, which is quite troubling. While we're a non-political channel, I would be using a lot of four-letter words to describe how I feel about this. While it's unlikely to pass on a federal level, it still remains in the back of my mind when buying firearms for investment purposes. Which is why I think surplus stuff is such a good option, as it's unlikely to be affected by this type of legislation. So in conclusion, if you buy right, firearms are a great place to put your money. They outpace inflation and do not take up much space. They are also fun, functional devices that provide more enjoyment than staring at an equally priced stock certificate. Of course, not to badmouth people who do well in the stock market. The image of the $10 infield is burned into my head. The Gants were $80 when I first started getting into firearms and are creeping up slowly but surely. Who knows, in 30 years from now, they might be worth more than we think. That said, buy right, buy smart, and remember to tell your wife, it's an investment, honey. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. This is Alex C. with TFB TV, and I'd like to thank Grizzly Targets and Ventura Munitions for making this program possible. Hope to see you next time, guys.